Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Plane Time here with the Florida Aviation Network. I'm Ben Coleman, your anchor host. This is segment 2 of Plane Time here, coming to you from the beautiful Oviedo Mall at the Gizmo Productions USA studios. We're here with Mike Myers, and Mike, welcome back to segment 2.
Thank you.
Did you ever? I would shake hands.
Sorry.
Do you ever do any acting?
No, I've never actually done any acting.
Mike Myers. Where does that name come up? Where's that?
I've used it, though, in the past.
What was the name of that movie? There was a movie. Austin Powers. That's where you go. Right. Okay. But you do kind of resemble Mike. Mike, we were talking earlier, and hopefully segment 1 had an impact on some of our viewers. If segment 1 didn't, segment 2 definitely will. And I do want to thank our production team for dropping in some stills every now and then of the bowels of an aircraft and what you're involved with your aircraft maintenance facility there at Hagerstown.
Harrisburg.
Darn it, I messed up again.
That's okay.
Where to get Harrisburg? There is a maintenance facility at Hagerstown, isn't there?
Well, there's actually one of our affiliate schools that we're very close with is in Hagerstown. It's Pittsburgh Institute of Aeronautics in Hagerstown.
Okay.
In addition to that, Henson Aviation started in Hagerstown as well, and that's the roots of Piedmont Airlines. So Hagerstown comes into it at all points, so it's okay.
I'm getting old.
And we talked about that in
depth. It gets
depth
burned
too,
into the back, and it can't get rid of it. But
Gotcha.
Your feeder, you mentioned in Hagerstown, Pittsburgh School of Avionics.
Right.
Where else do you get? Do you pull your folks from when you get? God, I need mechanics.
Well, first of all, we have our Piedmont Airlines careers website, so anyone who's interested in becoming a mechanic can go online and apply there. We also go to local schools, depending on, we have 7 maintenance locations, so we're going to go to local aeronautics schools. They're called A&P schools. We call them A&P schools, and we spend time with these schools at their open houses, their career fairs, getting in front of the students, letting them know we're here. We need mechanics. We also have a special program, I think, that we talked about earlier that we're going to talk about a little later on here in this segment. But that's how we do it. We actually, depending on the location of the maintenance base that needs mechanics, they get affiliated with these local schools. For my base in Harrisburg, we go through Pittsburgh Institute of Aeronautics in Hagerstown, Pittsburgh Institute of Aeronautics in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, Liberty University. But there are also a myriad of other aviation schools that we also go to, depending on locations.
Mike, the rewards. You mentioned that earlier before, as we were getting pre-briefed for the show today. I noticed a spark in your eye when you talked about the reward aspect of what you enjoy about your job in aircraft maintenance.
For me, just being able to get on board that airplane, knowing that there's something wrong with it, we need to make sure that it's fixed and it's fixed right. Grabbing the maintenance manuals, digging into the maintenance manuals, using what's called a fault isolation manual, going step by step through a routine with either a computer or a multimeter or a pressure gauge, seeing exactly where a problem might be existing and causing another problem, because the problems with aircraft aren't straightforward. You know, it's not just a flat tire. What caused a flat tire? Or the engine shut down? Why did the engine shut down? So going through these procedures and fixing this aircraft from square one to column Z, and knowing that you fixed that aircraft, you fixed it right, is very rewarding. And again, it's about seeing that airplane take off in the morning and knowing that you fixed that aircraft and that the people on that airplane are going to get to where they need to be and they're going to get there safely and on time, hopefully on time.
It's a different kind of payback.
It is.
It is, and it's not all about the money. It's a stable career, but and we talked about something about, you mentioned going on the aircraft, and we know it's either broken or it needs to get fixed, but fortunately, the redundancy was built into the certification of that aircraft that it is capable of so many minor items that may not be to standards, but they're still safe to fly. And that's the reason you got safely to where you're going. So, and thank you for calling the fault instrument manual, isolation manual, because normally it's an FIM.
Right, FIM, right. That's
So-
what we call it.
So you used to say in film all the time, fault isolation manual. Okay,
Correct.
that's what. But the redundancy aspect is typically there's at least 150% redundancy built into and certified into that aircraft. That if something is going to break at 10, they test it to 15. So that's it gives me peace of mind knowing that there is a little room of we have some discretion here, but not much. And again, what does the book say?
Exactly.
It always goes back to what does the book say. So are you out there on your own as an aircraft mechanic, Mike? And it's just up to you of whether or not this is good, no, that's not good.
No, absolutely not. Especially we're a regional carrier, so we're flying to outlying areas, and there aren't a lot of maintenance bases out there. If we fly into Evansville, Indiana, okay, we don't have a maintenance facility in Evansville, Indiana. An airplane breaks in Evansville, and it's a serious problem. The airplane can't fly. We have to dispatch mechanics to fix that aircraft. So we put together what's called a road trip. A couple of mechanics will get into a truck, they'll take the tools, they'll get into the fault isolation manual, the maintenance manuals, they'll do some preliminary research, and they're going to load in the tools and the parts that they might need that could possibly fix this airplane. They're going to drive to the airplane and fix it. With them goes our maintenance control community. We have an entire department which is called maintenance control. They're stationed in Salisbury, Maryland. We use a real-time online cell phone program. It's called Air Expert. We're in contact with our maintenance controllers. Should the guys get out into the field, if I'm out there by myself, I've got them with me. They've got access to manuals. They've got access to other personnel that they might need. So you're never on your own. You always have someone working with you. And that's another aspect of the safety redundancy of maintenance and the aircraft itself.
It sounds to me like you've got it pretty well wired.
We do.
You've been doing it long enough, and we've been in the industry long enough, and we, as we had planned and studied, rehearsed, we do want to bring up just the dirty dozen, and how to avoid the dirty dozen, and quickly, Mike, as they flash them up on the screen there, and let me read the big part, and would you just go over to the right after I finish and read the 1, 2, 3? But about 80% of the maintenance mistakes involve human factors. And if not detected, would lead to accidents. So that really is a strong, strong statement. But over on the right side, what's the first thing?
Lack of communication.
How long could we talk about lack of communication examples?
We'd be here for a while.
We could communicate a lot on that.
You bet.
And the second thing is, I'm looking here, is the
Complacency.
Oh, yep. That's killer, both in the cockpit and in the hangar for the maintenance shop.
Lack of knowledge.
Is there any excuse for lack of knowledge?
Absolutely not.
Okay.
You have your maintenance manuals right in front of you, spelled out in black and white. You should know.
And how about, I'm going to let you take it from there. Just hit it, 1, 2, 3, 4.
Distractions. That's a huge part in the maintenance industry. Distractions can do everything. Case in point, at one point in time, I know a mechanic who was putting together a parking brake, and he crossed lines with the parking brake with the actual brakes of the aircraft.
Ooh.
And and what happened was he was chatting with somebody. He was working on the wing of an aircraft, chatting with someone on the ground. And through an operational check, we found that, but that's a distraction. If that plane had left, it would have been a big problem. Pilots would have went to brake, they wouldn't have been able to brake. Yeah. So distractions are a big part of it. Leaving the job in the middle of it and then coming back. You've been distracted. Did you pick up where you left off? So that's a huge one.
And teamwork? Do you have teams?
It's absolutely. Got to have teamwork. A lot of items that we repair in the aviation industry are called required inspection item required. So it's called RII. So we have 4 sets of eyes looking at something rather than 2 sets of eyes, and we might even have 6 sets of eyes looking at something rather than 4 sets of eyes, depending on the severity of the part or the system that you're working on. So you have to work as a team. The mechanic that's fixing it, the inspector that's looking at it. If he's not good with what's been done, he needs to communicate back to the mechanic. Hey, we need to go back in and redo this, that, or the other thing. Fatigue. That's another huge one. All 12 of these are huge. You're working in a fast-paced environment in a commercial airline industry. You're going to be working at night because, like you said, you make the donuts at night, not during the day. These planes are flying during the day, so the majority of work is done at night, and that's where fatigue comes in. And there's a part of your body, it's called the circadian rhythm, and if you don't get the proper amount of sleep, you get fatigued. You don't see properly, you don't think properly, and the next thing you know, you've got a problem while working on the aircraft.
You can fight it, but you're not going to win.
You can't win that fight. Absolutely not. Lack of resources. That's where I come in. All right. I need to make sure that each and every one of our mechanics has the resources to do the job that they're there to do. The tools, the parts, the facility, the lighting, down to the lighting. Yeah. Is there water available to combat that fatigue? Lack of resources. That's another big one.
Training.
Absolutely, training. That's probably the single biggest right there.
No pressure. There's no pressure in aviation, is there?
Maybe a little bit. Maybe a little bit. A lot of times pressure is self-induced. We pride ourselves in not pressuring mechanics. If a mechanic isn't satisfied, he's the one that has hands-on. He's the one that's in the airplane working. He knows what's happening.
He or she.
Or she. When I say he, I mean he and she. This mechanic. I've got an office. I'm not down there. I have to trust this person, so I'm not going to pressure them to say, hey, this airplane has to be out by 9:30 in the morning, and here it is 8 o'clock, and you haven't got the panel back on. Well, I'm not going to say that. We're not going to pressure our mechanics or inspectors or anyone for that matter to get an airplane out just because it needs to be there on time. They might pressure themselves, but we're not going to do that.
And when should a mechanic be assertive?
When they realize something isn't the way that it should be. We have that on a regular basis. I will have a mechanic saying, I can't sign this off right now because I'm not satisfied that this is fixed. And I have to trust that, and I will trust that.
How about the next one that Dirty does?
Stress.
There's no stress in our lives today, is there?
That goes hand in hand with pressure as well.
Yeah.
You might have a supervisor out there that he's concerned about what we call a right start, and in the regional airline world, everything is about our right start because we're flying from Harrisburg, my airport, to Philadelphia for someone to catch a flight, and if they don't get there in time for their flight, it's a domino effect. So we place an emphasis on getting the airplanes out on time. And that is relayed to the supervisors, and the supervisors might relay that to the mechanics. We don't want to pressure you, but the mechanic feels like, I need to get this airplane out on time. I'm not gonna make it. It's just not in the cards, and they might stress about that. We try to tell them, don't stress about that. If the plane's not airworthy, if it's not in a safe condition, we're not going to release it.
We go.
Oh, lack of awareness. That's a big one as well. That leads to a lot of injuries. That's probably one of the biggest reasons we have injuries. We track any injuries in the industry, and I think that the top one on our monthly OJI report throughout the industry is lack of awareness. Somebody walked into a pitot tube, which is a big sharp tube that sticks out the side of the airplane that measures airspeed, and it's very sharp. They were looking down, they weren't aware of where they were at, boom. So lack of awareness can create issues. You have to know where you're at and what's going on. Norms. You get used to what's going on. You get used to rigging a flap. I do it 3 times a month, and it's always the same. And all of a sudden, the manufacturer has put a change into the maintenance manual, but you didn't go and check that out because you're used to the norm. Mm-hmm. Oh, I've done this 1,000 times. I'm going to go back out and do it. You can't. You have to have the latest and greatest maintenance manual out there. Don't be fixated on the norms. Every night is a new night. Every problem is a new problem. Address it that way. and then you will stay away from the norms, and you won't misrig that flap so that it jams in flight.
It all rolls kind of into each other.
It does.
But the important thing is the reason I felt the interest of bringing this up, and since we discussed it, but to show those who might be interested in this industry and this occupation, there's safety nets. There's things to keep you from either doing something stupid or making a mistake personally or just having a bad day. There's safety nets in there, and that's, again, your safety program addresses that.
Correct.
I also mentioned pride. I wrote down that word pride for some reason. Pride. I mean, you can tell. I mean, I can't pick on you. You're proud as all get out about your organization and what you're doing. You can't accomplish what you do as a base manager without having a very, very strong sense of pride. And I don't know of any mechanics that are worth their weight that aren't proud, that doesn't have proud, that they're not proud unless that airplane rolls out or whatever they're associated with doing is done just as good. And that's why I love working on aircraft, because we like keeping them clean, you know? And I said, well, why are you such a stickler, Ben, on keeping an airplane clean? I have stuff called hide a crack. You know what hide a crack is?
No. I've never heard of it.
That's all that goo and grease and gunk that is built up around an actuator. How are you going to inspect and look for a crack if you can't see it?
Correct.
It's got all that hide a crack around it. So anyway, I digress. Mike, how important is it to be punctual as a mechanic?
If you're not where you need to be, we depend on you to be where you need to be.
Yeah.
We're punctual as an airline. The NTSB monitors exactly the departure times and the arrival times of our aircraft. It's monitored every day, every hour. It's important. So in order for us to be punctual, we need our mechanics to be punctual. And that comes back to the pride thing. I'm proud of what I do. And it also comes back to the professionalism that we're looking for in a mechanic. I want to be at work. This is where I want to be. I start at 8 o'clock at night. I'm going to punch in at 7:45. That way I'm ready to go. I've got my uniform on. I've got my coffee. I've got my union coffee. I've grabbed the donut if I have to. And when it's time to hit the road, it's time to hit the road. Get your nose into the books, find out what's going on with the airplane that you've been assigned, and address the problems that have come up on the airplane for the day.
How reassuring is it, Mike, to know the airplane that is coming in, and you saw it, how often, how frequently? Every couple of weeks they come in?
Well, with 60 plus airplanes flying to 6 RON locations, we might see the same aircraft 2 nights, and then we might not see it for another 3 or 4 months. Who knows? It just depends on our maintenance planning department and where they need to put the airplane. There are certain bases that do certain things. If we have an engine change, Middletown or Harrisburg, and our Salisbury RON locations do engine changes. So we'll see those planes that need engine changes due on time. It just depends on how the maintenance flow goes for the day.
Mike, dare I mention personality? And I guess I dare because I already have. So, but do aircraft have personalities?
I don't want to say the individual aircraft has a personality, but the aircraft type definitely has a personality.
But I mean, even down to the aircraft. Yeah. I remember is that 703? Oh man, 703 again. Man, she is in here all the time. What's going on with 703? Mike, can you fix it?
Yeah, we've got a couple of those airplanes. We'll wrestle with an auxiliary power unit or APU that for some reason shuts down after 30 minutes, and we just can't duplicate it on the ground. And it's a very difficult thing to try and troubleshoot something that's working on the ground.
Intermittently.
Exactly. If you can't if it's not broken, how can you fix it?
You're chasing a ghost.
Exactly. Back in the olden days, we had one airplane whose RNAV or navigation computer system would reboot in flight. And I was working a heavy check down in Salisbury, and that airplane would come in, and I finally just said, we're rewiring the entire system. So we rewired the entire system, didn't fix the problem. That plane went to its grave with the same exact problem. So yes, they do.
When
Each
you say
airplane.
grave, you mean the boneyard.
Exactly. Well, actually, we cut this one up.
Oh, okay.
It was
We
a
can't
very,
fix it,
very
so we're
old
going to take it apart.
Exactly.
You mentioned earlier, and there's a lot of on-job training going on. You mentioned OJI, and I just wanted to bring up again the safety nets and the training aspect. If you're not satisfied that everyone in your organization has not only the required training but the right kind of training, I can tell you're going to be on them. I mean, they've got a training folder, and how often is your notes into that training folder?
Every 60 days in the first 6 months. When a mechanic starts with us, they get an OJT manual that I think has 64 on-the-job training tasks that they'll have to be completed within their first 180 days. What happens with we've revamped our training program, so now that training is being done in a classroom environment and hands-on on the aircraft. Prior to this, the mechanic would come in. He would spend 2 weeks in basic NDOC and EMB 145 familiarization, 2 weeks in a classroom environment. That's not hands-on. And then he would go onto the floor and work with a mechanic with his OJT manual. We were saying to ourselves, you know what, pilots, we don't stick a FO in the seat and say, hey, you're going to fly with this guy for 6 months and then you're going to become a captain. Flight attendants, they've got a simulator. Why don't we have a simulator? And we've got an airplane that is extremely high time. Instead of putting it in the desert, we made it a training plane.
Good.
So when these guys come out of that 5-week course, they're going to go to their maintenance base, and those OJT manuals will get signed off very rapidly because they've already done them all.
Another thing we hadn't brought up, and I kind of joke with you a little bit when I say him or her, but you know what's really cool is to be in the lounge and have somebody, a beautiful woman, walk up to you. Hopefully it's your wife, and say, what do you do for a living? I'm a mechanic. Really? How about the other way around? It's a male-dominated, face it, it's a male-dominated industry to a point. I don't know if we can say that anymore. It's not male-dominated. So, and I know a lot of ladies that are top-notch maintenance technicians. And on the other way around, hey, sweetheart, what do you do? I'm an aircraft mechanic. Whoa. The whole mindset just changes. This is not your, she's not going to go sell lingerie at Victoria's Secrets. She's out there twisting wrenches and fixing stuff.
You're right. It's not a male-dominated industry anymore.
No.
And we can see that, especially with our affiliations with these schools. There are a lot of female mechanic students. And I've got 2 right now, and they're both top-notch mechanics. Fantastic mechanics.
Well,
I want more.
You'll be getting more.
Yep.
I know. And besides, we're all built a little bit different. And can you see this meat hook going up into an inspection panel?
Yeah.
Where I have to get my wife, Melody. She has to come out every now and then. Baby, can you grab that for me? And she's able to get her petite little hand in there, grab it, pull it out. But we can't not recognize that that we are men and women, and there's really big. I kind of paint myself in a corner here, Mike. Help me out. We all. It's not gender specific being a mechanic.
Correct.
You can be whatever you want to be.
Yep.
There's a lot of trans talk these days. That's fine as long as you know how to read a manual and you're doing things by the book. That's cool. I'm good. I don't care what color your hair is or if you have hair. I can say that. But the biggest thing is just being a professional at what you want to do.
And I'm kind of glad you brought that up. Piedmont Airlines is very inclusive. Okay, we're a very inclusive airline. We need mechanics. Mechanics. That's what we're looking for. We're looking for A&P mechanics. We want to welcome everyone. I don't, race, color, gender, it doesn't matter. We want good, solid mechanics that have a great work ethic, that want to be part of a good team, and have an inclusive environment and feel like they're welcome at work. And we're all about that. And we always will be about that as well. So we're hoping that that's going to open up the doors to a lot of different areas. And we're going to see even more highly qualified and professional people apply for these positions.
One thing that I have to admit, well, I've admitted to a lot, probably more than I should today, but the one thing with the ladies that have chosen to get involved with this industry and this vocation, they seem to have more attention to detail than the men or the guys, the male folk. Now, there are some men that have extreme attention to detail, but most of the ladies, if there's a way to do it right, they're going to do it as right as possible, the attention to detail. And that was going to be my piece de resistance, and to wrap up our segment here too, but there's just the attention to detail.
And tenacity.
Yeah.
Stubbornness. I'm not going to give up. I'm not going to go, hey, I can't figure this out. I need some help. Come and help me. Or I'm concerned about doing this operational check. I would like for you to come do the operational check. Don't see it. So you're right.
Well,
attention to detail and tenacity.
Mike, and we're going to start to wrap this up here pretty soon, but we are going to drive people to Piedmont Careers, and we don't have the website. It's kind of passe to put out a website these days. We were talking, but just,
very simple to find.
Search engine, whatever engine you want. Piedmont Careers. And
do you want to talk about this program that we're?
Oh, the secret. Should I reveal the secret now?
If you want to, I'm game.
Okay, well, you have a program coming up, but it is a financially rewarding program.
Correct.
But I'm going to drive them to the Piedmont Careers. But I was going to give them the secret about how to get a job in your organization. There's this top secret. What should they do?
I don't know about top secret. We have what's called a tuition payment program. And how this tuition payment program works is if you're interested in becoming an aircraft maintenance technician or an AMT, you need to go to research a school that you want to go to get your A&P license, your airframe power plant license. When you've researched that school, if it participates with Piedmont's tuition payment program, you can tell them once you've been accepted to the school that you want to apply for the Piedmont tuition payment program. What that program is that we will pay whatever tuition financial aid doesn't cover. If financial aid covers 100% of it, great for us. If financial aid doesn't cover any of it, we'll pay the entire tuition program.
That's huge.
Correct. In addition to that, we're going to provide you with tools, a toolbox, or rolling toolbox, 260 some odd tools, every tool that you'll ever need to work on an aircraft. And then we'll stick with you throughout your career, or your scholastic career, however long it might be. Some courses are 12, some courses are 16, some courses are 24, depending on the school. And then once you finish that school, we're going to guarantee you employment with our company, depending on what school you went to and if it's affiliated with what maintenance base, one of our 7 locations. This is a program that we have been doing for about 2 years now. I've got 8 tuition payment program students that have graduated working in Harrisburg, and all 8 of them are outstanding mechanics.
If you had more applicants, I'm sure there would be more activity.
Absolutely. And we're trying to get the word out. There's so much of huge industry shortage for aircraft maintenance technicians. We're hoping that this program will kind of help bolster that, especially for Piedmont Airlines, but industry-wide.
Mike, thank you so much for your time today.
Appreciate it.
That's valuable. You can't put a price on your time.
No.
But I hope you learned something, and we also, as we finish up, we want to drive you to the code for your wings credit for the program, the FAA Wings program. And I'm going to repeat the secret of listen to everything this man said today, and you will get a job at Piedmont Airlines if you have the right stuff and you're a good fit. So being a good fit is up to you. He's shown you what the fit is. Now it's up to you to be in that fit. So I hope you fit for hiring. And again, I hope Michael, I'm going to call him Michael, but Mike, I hope he does see you in his office or wherever they choose to do an interview. Take it easy. And again, for the wings credit, stand by. Don't go away. Don't go away.